Honorable Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam, you have 15 minutes.
I thank you, Chair. I was actually hoping to congratulate the Honorable Deputy Speaker on his election. Unfortunately, he took off before I could do that. This adjournment motion by Honorable Professor Ranjit Bandara states in its second paragraph, Honorable Chairperson, especially the report with regards to this Central Bank report for 2019, especially the report has presented the background required to gain a comprehensive understanding on the massive setback the economy of our country has suffered within the period from 2015 to 2019 as compared to 2005 to 2015 in a scientific manner, he says. Further, the content of this report can be made use of to identify the sectors we need to pay our attention to, determine the macroeconomic targets we plan to achieve, and to identify the policy strategies in the formation of policies in the coming years. So in that respect, Mr. Chairman, I wish to point out to you that the respected Governor of the Central Bank, Professor Lakshman, visited Jaffna, and in today's papers, particularly the Daily FT, there is a news item that says he had many meetings, and in the course of that meetings, or at least the purpose of that those meetings, the meetings was held to gain insight on issues encountered by the public in dealing with formal and informal financial institutions, including the microfinance institutions, and to look for participatory solutions for those issues. I'm quoting the Daily Financial Times of today, where the news item was titled "Central Bank Chief Visits Jaffna, Discusses Financial Inclusion and Regulation." Mr. Chairman, the question of debt, particularly with regards to microfinance, became a suicidal issue in the Northeast. And it became so soon after the war. This adjournment debate tries to portray the Central Bank report as something that only points to the disastrous situation of the country from 2015 till 2020. But if you actually look at the situation of the people of the Northeast, particularly the Tamil people, who had faced a war for nearly 30 years, where their areas were declared no-go zones, where economic embargoes, complete economic embargoes were very rigorously adhered to for so many decades. Those people today lag behind 30 years in their economic strength. They are unable to compete. Their financial situation is so dire that soon after the war, when the Honorable Prime Minister was President then, and also Finance Minister, these microfinance institutions sprung up like mushrooms. They sprung up, and because those war-affected people for over 30 years were asked to compete with the rest of the country, with absolutely no effort to try and create a level playing field, to create a situation where you can have some progressive policies to declare the Northeast a war-affected area, to protect those people's economy first, allow that economy to somehow grow to a point where they can, to some extent at least, try and compete with the rest of the country. None of that was done. None of that has done. On the contrary, the then government just turned a complete blind eye and allowed all sorts of institutions to spring up. And as a result, those people, if they were asked to compete with the rest of the country, were forced to take loans. This is what actually happened. And they took loans. They took loans to the extent where these scrupulous financial institutions bankrupted them. The suicide rates in the Northeast increased, not just with small holders, even fairly middle to large-scale businessmen were unable to furnish their loans. The rate of suicide in the Northeast amongst the business community and traders actually increased after the war. You would expect that the situation economically would be dire during the war, but actually it became far worse after the war. So if you look at the financial situation, particularly with regards to loans and the debt situation of the people of the Northeast, the foundations for it was laid during this government or its previous predecessor, when His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa was president and finance minister. I think the then governor is also present. The previous governor came out with a report on these microfinances, and in fact said that except for banks, the major recognized banks and major financial institutions, it is these small unregulated financial institutions that created this mess. I would suggest that this government look into the question of those microfinance problems, because they have a duty, because it is they who created it, particularly in the Northeast, where a battered people for over 32 years were forced into that situation. They were forced into that situation, and when you have His Excellency the President in his speech with regards to policy, stating that he said nothing about rights, but at least he said that when it comes to development, that he would create a level playing field regardless of ethnicities, then it is a duty upon this government, because it was they who created that situation back in 2009, that they should look and actually relieve all of those people who have been plagued by the question of a debt and are actually in a debt trap, not a debt trap, a debt trap. And it is the duty of this government to do that. Mr. Chairman, simply to relieve them today of their debt situation is not going to solve anything, unless, as I said earlier, that you have a policy of some sort of protectionism to even today, even though it is a late stage, 10 years later or 11 years later, to help those people protect their economy first and then allow it to grow to an extent that they can in fact compete with the rest of the country. Now, Mr. Chairman, this report talks quite eloquently of the sort of situation between 2000 right up till 2015. But there is this huge problem. His Excellency in his policy statement said, and I actually welcomed it in my intervention, where he said that he's going to give land, he's going to give deeds to those people who have land, traditionally, permit land, but because of various reasons that those have not been formalized. So he says that he's going to give those deeds. But whilst this is the approach that should ideally be practiced, the reality on the ground, Mr. Chairman, is shocking. It's shocking. In Mullaitivu district, in Kokilai West, in Kokkutodabai North, and in Kokkutodabai South, there is 2,524 acres of land belonging to 601 Tamils. Those are deed as well as permit lands. Deed as well as permit lands. 784 of that 2,524 acres has already been given to Sinhalese people who are not from that area, in violation of the Tamil people's rights. This is happening in Amayan Kulam, Mundrihai Kulam, Samban Kulam, Manalkerni. In these areas, which comprise of nearly 784 acres, Tamil people who have deed land and permit land are not even allowed to enter because the military is preventing them, and those 784 acres is exclusively being allowed to farm by Sinhalese who never had any say or any rights over that area. The remaining 1,740 acres have been brought under the Mahabali L zone scheme. The Divisional Secretariat of Karaithurapattu had given permission under Circular 2013/1 from the Land Commissioner for the land to be irrigated by the people to whom that land belonged. But the Mahabali Development Authority intervened and has told the people that those lands come under its authority and that the Divisional Secretary is not entitled to allow the people to go and farm there, and is now putting roadblocks to the extent that the Forest Department and the Wildlife Department are cooperating with the Mahabali Development Authority and are not providing any form of assistance for these people to go. They are not allowing mechanized farming gear to be taken to that area. Roads are in a terrible state. There is no transport whatsoever. Farmers taking these long knives to cut through heavy growth because they have not been able to farm are not allowed to take those knives. That is the pathetic situation that is faced. But we are talking today and commending ourselves with regards to the central bank report, when people who have been so poor, who have not been able to farm in these areas because of 30 years of war,
Member, you have 2 more minutes.
who are now only trying to begin to start their lives, even now are being prevented. Now this same situation, Mr. Deputy Chairman, I just want to mention the areas. The same situation prevails in Vavuniya North, Nedungani, where you have Maradottai, Patti, Kudiyiruppu, Kattukulam, Mannakulam, Puliyankulam North, Kanchura Motte, Vinnangapatti. There are 960 acres again belonging to Tamil people that the military is preventing these people from farming. I'd just like to mention one matter. The former President Maithripala Sirisena was here at the beginning of this adjournment motion. He in fact visited this area, and when he visited the area, these 960 acres were being allowed by the military to be farmed by Sinhala people who actually don't belong to that area at all. They have never had historically any say over that land. And when he went there, these complaints were made. And when he heard about those complaints, he actually told those very Sinhalese farmers that, look, it is not fair. These Tamil people who traditionally were farming in these areas must be allowed to farm. And because he made those statements, if I'm not correct, actually his comments came into controversy, both amongst not only the Sinhala people there, but certainly the rest of the country. So, since that is the situation, Mr. Deputy Chairman, I think if this central bank report is to be taken seriously, I think the government must act on the ground and must in fact show its bona fides with regards to these wonderful words that they come out with from time to time. If the people on the ground continue to commit suicide because they're forced to take debt which they can never hope to repay, then there's something wrong. Thank you.